Okay, so Callum Smith knocks out George Groves in the seventh round. I have to be honest, this really surprised me. At least the manner in which it happened surprised me. I actually had a pre-fight prediction video, but I somehow thought it was Saturday, the fight, not Friday. So by the time I released the video, the fight was happening in like 30 minutes, so like an hour. So I deleted the video. But in my video, I predicted that George Grove was most likely to win on points. He could knock Smith out, and Smith, of course, can knock Groves out because Groves does carry that kind of vulnerability and that stamina issue. However, again, first and foremost, I was very impressed with Callum Smith. I don't think he's looked that good in quite a while. Maybe he's one of these form fighters that really kind of needs an occasion to get up for, but he was quite a bit slower than George Groves, but he used his reach and he timed Groves. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but George Groves has a horrible tendency to burn up what must be huge amounts of nervous energy at the beginning of his fights. Sometimes he settles into them, but I'm watching them in like the first two rounds, and he just every muscle is kind of contorted, every muscle is tensed. It's no wonder he gasses out. But he never he never got comfortable in this fight. Normally he kind of gets into a George Groves style kind of slickness almost, and like a rhythm, and he just couldn't get that rhythm started. I think maybe it was the reach of Callum Smith and the timing that was really kind of put him off his game. George Groves generally likes to counterpunch, and it felt like George Groves was always the one, or most of the time he was getting off first. Callum Smith was hitting a few straights down the middle occasionally, but more often than not Smith was countering Groves, which I didn't foresee at all. And I think that, as I said, that put George Groves at a very uncomfortable situation. I don't think he had expected the fight to take on that kind of dynamic. His warrior's heart, I guess, in George Groves has kind of got him in trouble here, I think. Whenever he was hurt, the first thing he was doing was throwing back. And I think he must have been quite surprised at how hard Callum Smith hit, because he was rocked a couple of times. His legs went at least once, maybe twice before the final knockout. I mean, as I said, Callum Smith is 6'3", which is enormous for a super middleweight. They look like different weight classes in there. How the hell they weighed the same, I have no idea. No idea. But all the credit to Callum Smith. I was really, honestly, I was so surprised. I didn't think him stopping George Groves was impossible, but what did surprise me is George Groves' almost refusal to get back up. Which, for anyone that's watched George Groves' career, he doesn't have, the word quit doesn't appear anywhere in his repertoire or his vocabulary. I think maybe he knew from even as early as the second round that he could get seriously hurt by Callum Smith. He did say post-fight, and again, George Groves was absolutely, completely humble in his post-fight. No excuses, just full credit to Callum Smith, which I love to see. Maybe, I don't know if there was something niggling at George Groves, or if he didn't look like himself, but that could have just been because Callum Smith didn't let him get comfortable. As I said, it's not usually that you have bad nights, it's just you have a bad opponent. And I think that's maybe what happened here. Callum Smith was just all wrong for George Groves. It was almost a bit like the Carl Froch fight, the second Carl Froch fight. Because Carl Froch was out boxing Groves in spots as well. But just as Groves was coming back into that fight, which is the polar opposite of how he usually boxes, normally Groves is strong early and fades a little bit late, it felt like he was coming back into the second Froch fight when he got clipped and knocked out cold. But I don't think he was going to come back into this. Maybe there's too many miles on the clock, but he seemed very fast. He just didn't seem to. There was no kind of eye-catching punches from Groves. Callum Smith kept very tight and just used his range and timed everything Groves did. Very impressive. I'm not sure where Groves goes from here, but I don't think he's ready for retirement. I think there's a lot of good fights left in him. This is just, well, we'll see. Callum Smith, on the other hand, I mean, undefeated. I think it's his 18th knockout, actually, if I remember right. And that's an impressive scalp to have on your record, George Groves. I think he's 28 years old. And I'd kind of forgotten about him. Actually, it's funny because Callum Smith said that in the post-fight, that people had kind of forgotten about me, and I hadn't written him off, but he wasn't kind of at the forefront of my mind when I was speaking super middleweights, even with him being in the final. I'm glad he got his crack tonight, and he boxed better than I've ever seen him box. Absolutely. Congratulations to him. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. And also, as a kind of a side note to this, Chris Eubanks' fight was entertaining, maybe for all the wrong reasons. It quite strange. Kind of his opponent retired, or his corner retired him because of a shoulder injury. But then 5 minutes later, the same opponent was threatening to knock out Chris Eubanks Jr. bare knuckle. Maybe the shoulder injury healed itself, I don't know. It's a really good IFL interview. You should go and check it out. Very entertaining. Anyway, thanks folks, and I'll see you soon.